Welcome back, Cat 5 class. We're going to go over the final problem on this handout, problem 12-3. So even though we're in chapter 8, this problem and the previous problems all used to be in the same chapter. They used to all be in chapter 5 in the old textbook. But in the newer textbook, 2018 and newer, I believe, they're now mostly in chapter 8, except for this one is now in chapter 12. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create our views and dimension it, just like the previous problems. So again, we are in Chapter 8, AutoCAD Dimensioning, but this problem is in the back of Chapter 12, Problem 12-3. All right, so let's take a look at the 3D model. Okay, so this one's a little bit more complicated. Okay, so we're going to create our front view, top view. Let's go back to the front. And instead of a side view, we're going to do an auxiliary view looking down the slot. Okay, so we're going to create this view instead of the right side view. Let's go back to the front. And instead of creating a left side view, we're going to create a second auxiliary view looking down the axis of the small hole. Okay, so let's take a look at the answer key. Let's cheat. All right, so this is what we're going to create. We're going to create 4 views. So the more complex the part, the more features. The more features it has on different surfaces, the more complex, the more views we're going to need. Okay, so we have our front view, top view, and instead of a right side view, we have an auxiliary view. Again, auxiliary views, if you forgot, are views that are projected at an angle other than horizontal or vertical. Okay, so this is an auxiliary view, and also this one is an auxiliary view. Okay, so this one is a partial auxiliary view looking down this hole, down the axis of the hole. And notice it's just a partial view. It doesn't show the rest of it. If we go back to the 3D model. So we're only going to focus on this surface and the hole and ignore the rest of it. So it's a partial auxiliary view, and that's very common to just ignore the other areas. Our focus is to dimension the center of the hole and ignore the rest. All right, so let's go to the front view and let's go ahead and complete the front view. By the way, the hole, the yellow hole, it's exiting at the bottom here, as you can see, and it exits as an ellipse. Even though it's circular, because of the angle that it's exiting with respect to the surface, it looks elliptical. Even though we know it is circular, as you can see from this auxiliary view, circular. And the reason it looks more like an octagon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, more like an octagon is because it takes a lot of memory from your computer to generate a near perfect circle. So it doesn't eat up a lot of memory off of your computer and freeze the software or the computer. It generates a polygon instead, in this case an octagon. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at the front view first, see if there's anything missing. Okay, by the way, we do have a backside here, so we would have to draw a red hidden line here, representing that backside. We're looking at it here from the front. Okay, so let's go to the AutoCAD file. Okay, so here's our front view. And it looks like we have everything except that red hidden line representing this back wall. So we need a red hidden line going straight down. All right, so let's go to the red hidden layer for the front view. Red hidden layer. I'm going to go a little fast. So if I'm going too fast for you, you may need to pause along the way. Okay, so let's go to line command. So from this vertex, go straight down, and we're going to draw a red hidden line going straight down. Let me turn on ortho. Okay, there we have it. Okay, let me change the color of the red. It's a little hard to see, so let me just line it up a little bit. Okay, so there's our red hidden line representing this back. So going to the 3D model, we can't see this brown surface or its edges, right? So we represent it with the hidden line that we just drew. Is there anything else we're missing? I think we got it all. I think everything's already there. Okay, so back to the front view. Okay, looks like we have everything, right? We have the hole going all the way through and exiting here at this wall. All right, so let's focus on the top view. Okay, so top view. Take a look at the 3D model. Top view. Okay, so from the top, we need to draw the hole and also the exit. We need to draw this line. And we also need to represent the slot. So from the top view, we cannot see this slot here, right? Can't see it. So we need to represent it with the hidden line going across. Okay, so let's take care of some of this geometry first, like the red hidden line for the slot going across this object line. And then we'll come back and take care of the hole. That's a little bit more challenging. All right, so let's go to AutoCAD. All right, so we already have the depth here, right? Notice the depth here is this line right here, right? So that's the depth. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw a red hidden line for the depth of the slot and the top view. Okay, let me hit escape to deselect, red hidden line, red hidden layer, line command. So this here represents the slot. Right click enter. There it is. So again, this is the slot. This is the depth of the slot, right? Okay, now we have an object line from this vertex. Line command, visible object layer from this vertex, go straight up. Click. And there it is, right click enter. Okay, so it looks like we have everything in the top view except the hole. Okay, so this one's a little bit tricky. Okay, so these construction lines and this construction line will define our center mark and our diameter for the hole. Okay, our quadrants. Okay, so let me make these a little bit thicker so they stand out a bit. Okay, there they are. Hit escape to deselect. So the hole is in here. Okay, so we know the center line, right? There's the green center line as it exits the solid at the white visible object line. So we know this line is for the center mark. So here's the center. Here's the left quadrant, right quadrant, and we already have the construction lines for the top and lower quadrant of this hole. Okay, so if we go to the 3D model, okay, so let me fix this top view. So we know where the center is. We have top quadrant, right quadrant, bottom quadrant, and left quadrant. So we're going to use the ellipse command to draw this circular hole. So from this perspective, it looks circular, right? It's circular. But from the top view, it looks elliptical. I know it looks like a polygon, but again, that's your computer, or my computer in this case, trying to save memory and not to generate the perfect ellipse, or else it'll slow down your computer and freeze your computer or the software. All right, so okay, so we're going to use this construction line and this one for our quadrants. Let me thicken those so they stand out a bit. Hit escape to deselect. Okay, so here is our area for the ellipse. Okay, so let's go to the visible layer and use the ellipse command. Ellipse. Here is the center mark. And we can go to right quadrant or left quadrant. And then the top or lower quadrant, either one will work. And there's the ellipse, ta-da, right? And notice how it lines up with the hole in the front view. Okay, now we need to do the same thing at the exit. Okay, so here at the bottom, we have the exit. Okay, so we have to pretty much repeat the same thing that we did right now with the hole going through the top, except now we're going to go through the bottom. Okay, so this bottom here. All right, so let's go ahead and let me turn these construction lines. So see how we have the hole exiting here at the slot. So we need this construction line. This one for the center mark. And this one for the exit of this quadrant. Okay, so these three that I have selected will help us locate the ellipse at the bottom with respect to the top view. So let's make this thicker. Hit escape. Okay, so there it is. Here's its center, right? So if we follow this construction line, there's where it exits the axis, right, of the hole. Okay, so here is the center, quadrant, quadrant, quadrant. Let's zoom in. Okay, so here's the center mark, top quadrant, right quadrant, bottom quadrant, left quadrant. Okay, so let me hit escape to deselect, and let's draw another ellipse, except this time it's going to be a hidden ellipse because we cannot see it from the top view. Okay, so let's go with the ellipse. Here's the center, here's the right quadrant, and here's the top quadrant. And there it is. That's our exit. Okay, so here's where it drills through the top, or I should say at an angle through the top, and exits here at the slot. Okay, so now we need to draw red hidden lines connecting the two ellipses, representing the hole going all the way through the top material, and it exits here. Okay, so once again, 3D model. The hole drills through this surface and exits at the bottom. Notice how it looks elliptical. Okay, so we need to connect the ellipses representing the entire hole going through this material here. All right, back to AutoCAD. Let's connect the ellipses with red hidden lines. They're hidden because we can't see them. Right click enter. Okay, and bottom quadrant, and right click enter, and there we have it. Ta-da! Done. All right, so let's cheat and take a look at the answer key before we move on to the auxiliary view on the right. I think we have everything so far. All right, so let me first take these yellow construction lines and take them back down to its line weight. So if I go down up here on the properties, I can go back and say, hey, I wanted to follow the thickness with respect to its layer, the construction layer. There it is. Hit escape to deselect, and it changes the line weights back to the line weight defined for that construction layer. All right, so take a look at the construction line. My mistake at the answer key. All right, so we got everything at the top. Oh, we're still missing the green center lines. So we'll do the green center lines. Okay, this one has its center line already. So we do have to put green center lines or center marks for ellipses also. Okay, and then we're going to work on the right side view, or I should say the right auxiliary view. Okay, so we have this hidden line here representing this corner. So from this corner, we're going to go across. That's a red hidden line for that edge here. Okay, and then we also have another edge from this point. So you go parallel to the slot. So this auxiliary view is created with respect to the angle of the slot. So from this point, we're going to follow the angle of the slot, and that'll create this red hidden line. Okay, and then we have the hole. Okay, so we can't see the hole from this perspective, so that's why it's going to be drawn as a hidden feature with red hidden lines and a red hidden ellipse, and its center marks. All right. So let's go ahead and first do these center lines, and then we'll jump over to the auxiliary view on the right. Okay, so center marks. Oh, let me change these construction lines back to their normal line weights with respect to its layer. There it is. Hit escape to deselect. All right, so let's throw in our center marks. So center lines. Okay, we can use center mark, or we can use line command. Go slightly beyond. Right click enter, and don't forget the vertical center marks. So okay, if we go further beyond, actually looks cleaner than to try and stop here. Whoa, way too big, way too large. Let me hit escape. Okay, so let me temporarily turn off object snap. Lost control there for a minute, and I'll just use the grips to change the length. There it is. Hit escape to deselect. Let's go ahead and use object snap again, line command, And let's track. I'm trying to track. Click and let me turn off Object Snap again so I don't have the same thing happen. And click and right click enter. Okay, so that looks clean. All right, so we're done with this one. So now let's move over to the auxiliary view. All right, so from this perspective, we cannot see the circular hole, but it's there, so we need to represent it with a hidden ellipse. So let's go to the 3D model. Let's go back to the front view. And we have the auxiliary view. So we're now looking down the slot. Okay, so this is the auxiliary view. Notice this is at a different angle, right, versus a right side view. This is what the right side view looks like. But instead, we're going to go with respect to the angle of the slot. So it looks a little different, right? As you can see, the bottom here looks different. And we do have the hole, right, going through, which we cannot see. We can't see the hole from this perspective, so we need to draw it, exiting at the bottom. Okay, and we need to draw these lines, I believe. Then we have hidden lines going across that we cannot see. So we need to draw this edge as a hidden line and this edge as a hidden line from this perspective. Right? So let's go back. Okay, so let's take care of the red hidden lines first. So we have the hole, right? It goes through and it exits at the slot. So let's go to the red hidden layer. Line command, and we'll go from the left quadrant. Let's turn on Object Snap back on. Left quadrant, and it exits. Oh, I'm in the wrong layer. Wrong layer. Hit escape, escape. Let's go to the red hidden layer. Okay, line command again. Left quadrant, go straight to, let me turn off ortho temporarily. There it is. Right click enter. Okay, so at this, we have the correct angle. There it is. Line command again from the right quadrant. And there it is. Right click enter. Okay, and it exits down here. There's no need to draw a red hidden line for the circular exit down here because we have the visible object line overriding it. And we need a center line. So let's go to the center layer. Draw the line. Going through. Let's see if I can track. I'm having trouble tracking. That's okay. I'll just click. Right click enter. Okay, I'm having trouble extending this slightly beyond the object line. So we can use lengthen. Yeah, remember lengthen? Let's go. I think it's modify here. And here's the lengthen command. My mistake. It's somewhere in here and I'm going blind. Here it is, lengthen. By the way, if you're using a very old version of AutoCAD, there is no icon for lengthen. You actually have to type in the word lengthen. But the newer AutoCAD finally decided to add an icon for it. Okay, so there it is. So lengthen. Okay, so we're going to lengthen this by, I don't know, 20%. So I'm going to type in percent. So I'm going to click on the word percent. I'm going to increase it by, so I'm going to go 120. So add 20%. So I'm going to go 120%. See what we get. If not, we can always redo it. Enter. I'm going to hover over this portion. See, it's going to increase it by 20% for a total of 120%. Click. There it is. It extends it. And we're done. Hit escape. Ta-da! All right. Now let's go ahead and draw the one going across. And we'll do the exact same thing with lengthen. So line command. Let's go quadrant to quadrant. And then we'll lengthen it. And right click enter. So let's use lengthen one more time. Lengthen. Okay, and let's go by percentage. And this time I'm going to go, let's go a little bit longer. Let's go with maybe 25. So let's go 125%. And enter, and I'll hover over the left side. Oh, don't want it to stop at the object line. That's okay. We'll fix that. And I'll do the same thing on the right side. There it is. And let's do it again on the left side. Another 125%. Click. There it is. Okay, and hit escape. It's actually better to have it longer than to have it look crowded. All right, so All right, so we're done with that part. Now we need to draw this portion here. All right, so go to the 3D model. We need to draw this line here, right? It's going to be a little hard to draw. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so we're going to go straight down, draw an object line. And from this angle, it's going to look something like this. All right, so this one's going to be a little bit tougher. You know what? Let's first draw the red hidden lines. This is a little confusing. Let's do the red hidden lines first. So we need a red hidden line for this edge and for this one. Then we'll take care of the object lines. Okay, so there it is. There we have it. All right, so let's go to the red hidden layer. Use the line command. So from this corner here, we're going to go across. Okay, there we have it. And right click enter. And then we can shorten it using the grips. Okay, and we do have object lines here, so that's why I had to overextend it to here. Okay, so now let's do the one from this corner. Line command again. For this corner, go across. There it is, right click enter, and once again we're still missing the object lines. We'll take care of that in a minute. Now let's go ahead and shorten this. Okay, and hit escape to deselect. Okay, so going back, so we took care of the red hidden lines for the edge we can't see here and the one over here. So you can see the object line is slightly below the red hidden line we just drew down here. So we need this object line and this one. All right, so let's go back. Okay, so here's the red hidden line. So our object line actually starts here, not at the bottom. Oh, let me zoom in. Okay, there it is. So now from down here, we're going to draw an object line from here, and then we'll go up. Okay, so let's go to the visible object layer and line command. And notice I have ortho off. Okay, so I'm going to go from this corner to this intersection point and work my way up. And there it is, right click enter. Okay, so now it looks like our 3D model, our auxiliary view. There it is, right? Looks like we have everything except the dimensions. Okay, looks like we are good to continue. And again, the whole purpose of this is to look down the slot, and we'll come back and dimension the slot. All right, so let's go to front view. All right, so now we need an auxiliary view looking down the hole. So the whole purpose of this auxiliary view is to locate the hole with respect to the edges. All right, so let's go ahead and complete that one. Let's take a look at the answer key. We're going to cheat. Okay, so we got everything here on the right. I think we have everything. I'll double check and see if we didn't miss this object line. And we have this hole that lines up with the hole here, right? And this vertex lines up with this vertex and this vertex with this one. Notice it's all parallel to the axis or perpendicular to the axis of the hole. Okay, so let's go back to AutoCAD. And I actually did miss the wide visible object line here. All right, so it's with respect to this corner. So let's draw that wide visible object line from this vertex. Follow the parallel lines, right? And it ends here. Right click enter, and now we can shorten it. Okay, hit escape on the keyboard to deselect. Okay, there we have it. Okay, I think we have everything now. All right, so now let's go over to the auxiliary view. Okay, so we're going to use the wide visible object layer, draw a line to define that surface, right? We're just going to take a look at this surface, use line command, and there's our periphery for that area, and we're not going to draw the rest. Okay, so the whole purpose is just to focus on the hole and how to locate it using dimensions. Okay, so the hole is inside this box here. Okay, so let's zoom in. Use circle command. Go from the center to the quadrant. There it is. Ta-da! Done. Now we're missing the center lines. Okay, so let's draw our center lines. Go to the green center layer. And we'll come back and shorten it using the lengthen command. We can also shorten. And hit escape. So we're going to use the lengthen command to fix the lengths of these two green center lines. So let's go to lengthen, or we can type in the word lengthen. Okay, so this time we're going to shorten. Okay, so the long green center line, let's shorten it by 25%. So let's go 75%. Instead of 100, we'll go down to 75, enter percent. Oh, let me do it again, percent. Click on the word percent, type in 75, and enter. So we're going to reduce the length here and here. Ta-da! All right, so hit escape to deselect. Now let's go back to lengthen, or hit spacebar to repeat the same command. And we're going to increase it by a percent of 25. Let's go 125 total, 125%, enter. We'll lengthen this one, this portion, and lengthen it in the opposite. There it is. Hit escape. Okay, that looks clean. All right, so we're done with that view. And we're going to ignore the rest of the view and the hidden lines. We'll just ignore the rest. All right, so let me turn off the construction lines. And let's take a look at the answer key, take a peek at it, right? We're not going to cheat. We're just going to take a look at the answer key. Okay, so that's complete. That's complete. Front view is complete, and so is the side view, or my mistake, the right auxiliary view. Okay, now let's throw in some dimensions. All right, so let's take a look at the front view first. So the datum on the bottom has a larger surface than the top. So this is our datum. So we'll dimension bottom to top, bottom to top. And then this surface back here has more surface area than the front or the left side here. So we'll dimension right to left, right to, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? Well, this is a chamfer, excuse me, so it makes more sense to dimension from this vertex of the chamfer to this vertex, okay? And we can also dimension from the top to the bottom here also. Okay, so we can actually replace this 22 with an 8. 30 minus 22 is 8. That's 8. So this is a 45-degree angle because this is 8 and that's 8. So either one is okay. We can go with 2 8s and get rid of the 22. I'll leave it up to you. Or if you want to follow the answer key, go for it. Okay, so let's zoom in. Let's go to the dimensions layer. Okay, let's throw in linear dimensions. Linear dimension, bottom to top. Okay, linear dimension again, bottom to the very top. There we go, space it out. Okay, now let's go from back to front. Linear dimension, back to front. And we're going to need some room for the 8mm dimension for the chamfer. Linear dimension from this point to this point. All right, so we can also call this out differently using a chamfer call out of 8 by 8 or 8 by 45 degrees. But we'll cover that later on. All right, same thing with the 22. We can delete the 22. I'll leave it up to you if you want to leave it, and instead replace it with another dimension of 8mm, this time going down vertically. So this is another option. Okay, and I will leave that up to you. And hit escape. Let me move it outward. Okay, hit escape to deselect. Okay. Okay, if you want, you can move it outward or move the arrows outward. It's up to you. Let's move the arrows. It looks a little too crowded. I'm going to flip the arrows. Just hover over the grip, flip the arrow. And let's flip this arrow and hit escape to deselect. It looks a little better, right? I'll leave it up to you. All right, so let's go ahead and throw in some more dimensions. Okay, so we took care of the front. Okay, let's take care of the top view. Okay, so we're going to go from this front datum. There's more surface area than the back. So we'll dimension front to back, and then we'll dimension this thickness here, right, of 13. Okay, let's take care of the 13 first. All right, so go to the top view. Okay, so we have the dimension of 13 from this vertex to this one. That'll give us that thickness here. And you can make the argument, hey teacher, isn't it better to place the dimension outside? You do have that option. One thing we don't want are long extension lines. So you can make the argument, well, we try and keep dimensions between the views and try not to kick one out outside in the cold. We try and stay in between where it's nice and warm, right? So you can make the argument that, hey, maybe we should move this up here, right? So I'll leave it up to you. Don't forget to move the grips. Okay, so hit escape. So either one will work. Either one is acceptable. Okay, it's a matter of preference. Okay, let's throw in the other dimensions. Front to back. And front to back. Another linear. And there we have it. All right, so that was easy. Now let's go ahead and complete the auxiliary view here on the left. So we're going to locate the center of the hole. That's the whole purpose of this auxiliary view. Okay, so we need a diameter, right, for the hole and the center from the edge and from this edge, 6 units. Okay, this is going to be a little bit tricky. Okay, instead of using a linear dimension like we did with these, we're going to use an angled dimension, or aligned, I think it's called. All right, so but first let's take care of the diameter. Okay, since we have a full circle, we're going to go with diameter. Diameter for the circle. Give it a little bit of an angle. You don't want a vertical. You don't want a horizontal, right? Unless you don't have a choice. But here we do have a choice. Let's give it a slight angle. Here it is. We need room for the other dimensions, or else I would have placed it out here. Okay, so we're going to go with an aligned dimension. Okay, so go with the second one, aligned. Okay, so we're going to go from this edge to this one. There it is. Okay, we can also extend it. Oh, see, this is the problem with an aligned. Okay, so let me hit escape on this one. So we have a choice of either extending the center line. There's also other ways of doing this. We can also set up an axis. Or, let me show you a different way of doing this. We're going to go back to linear. So let me delete this dimension. It wasn't cooperating. It's okay. So we're going to try and outsmart AutoCAD. We're going to go with linear instead. Go linear. And we're going to go click, click, but that's not what we want, right? That's not what we're looking for. And then right click. And we're going to go, I believe it's rotated. It's either angle or rotated. Let's try rotated. We're going to rotate this dimension of 4. Rotated. So it's asking me with respect to what? Okay, I want to go with respect to this line. So I'm going to pick this point and this point. Notice now it angles itself or orients itself with respect to this line that we just chose. Okay, so either one will work. There it is. We're going to do the exact same thing for the dimension from this edge to this center, or it can be from this edge to this center. It doesn't matter. Okay, let's cheat and take a look at the answer key. Just don't tell nobody. Okay, so we're going to go from this edge to the center. Okay, so 6 millimeters. Okay, so linear dimension, once again, linear. Go from this point to this one. Then right click, rotate it. So we want to do it with respect to this object line. So let's go from that endpoint to this one, and there it is. We have two choices, as you can see. Here's the one we want. And good enough. If you want to place it inside or outside, I'll leave that up to you. Okay, so let's move on to the other auxiliary view. Okay, this one's a little bit tougher. All right, so let's take a look at the answer key. All right, so we're going to use the same method. We're going to use linear and rotate it, just like we did on the other auxiliary view. Okay, so let's first throw in the 6, and we'll use this as our reference to align it. Okay, so we'll go to this quadrant and that quadrant, and then we'll use this line, its endpoints, to change its orientation. All right, so here we go. Okay, so using, again, dimensions layer, we're going to go with linear dimension, the first option, linear. We'll go from this corner to that corner, then right-click, rotate it. And we're going to use the endpoints of this line to define our orientation. There it is. Ta-da! Right? Don't worry, we'll do it again. Now we're going to do the top one here. Okay, let's take a look at the answer key again. Okay, so we have this dimension. So from this point right here, right, except it's this edge now, we're going to go a 5 millimeter dimension, a 14 from this edge to that point, and then we need the angle of 30 degrees. Okay, so let's take care of that one, and we're close to finishing up. Okay, so let's zoom in here. Okay, so once again, linear dimension, the first option, linear. We're going to go from this endpoint to this endpoint, and we need to orient it, so right click, rotate it, and I'll use this line, its endpoint, so I'll pick the first one, second one, and there it is. There's our first dimension, or I should say our second dimension for this view. All right, now let's go to the next one. Okay, linear dimension, the first one again, from this point to this one, and right click again, rotate it, and pick the same endpoints as we did earlier for this line, and that'll orient it. Ta-da! There it is. Okay, so now the angle is going to be a little bit tougher. So we have an angle of 30 degrees. We don't have nothing here to reference. So I'm going to turn on the construction lines temporarily to help us create the 30-degree angle. Oh, I misclicked. Let me hit escape, escape, escape. Turn on the construction layer. There it is. Okay, so we need to add an angle here of 30 degrees. As you can see, we have this angle of 30. And we need, in this case, use a construction line to help us create our angle of 30 degrees with respect to this line and a construction line. Okay, so let's go in there. Okay, so we're going to use this construction line and this object line to create the angle. Okay, so let me hit escape to deselect. Okay, so once again, let's go with our first angular dimension. I'm going to first click the object line, construction line. Oh, I'm in the wrong layer. That's okay. I'll come back and fix it. And there it is. Let me move it to the correct layer. There it is. Okay, hit escape. And there we have it. Okay, so we need to fix this angle first of all. We don't see the extension line, so it's actually over here. We need to use a grip. Now we can see an extension line and line it up with this point. Oh, it still didn't show up. Maybe I went too far. Oh, hit escape, hit escape. All right, so let me start from scratch with this one. Do it over again. Let me delete it. Go to the correct layer. Somehow I got stuck in between layers. Do it over again. Okay, it's all right. It's practice, right? Let's go angular again. From this line to this construction line. There it is. Now click on the dimension and let's use this grip to, there it is. You guys see the extension line. Click. All right, this time it worked. Woo! We got lucky. Hit escape. Okay, notice we don't have the right angle. Okay, so if we double click or if we click, and then right-click Properties. It gives us more history here or properties of that dimension. And I'm looking for the text here. So it's actually 29. Okay, so obviously I made a mistake when I modeled this. It's supposed to be 30. Okay, so this happens. It's actually not uncommon to overwrite a dimension. Okay, so the solution says 30 degrees. If you want to leave it at 29, go ahead. You're welcome to. If you want to change it to 30, okay, so let's overwrite it. Okay, I'm going to double click on it. And I'm going to highlight the 29. Oh, trying to highlight it. It's not allowing me to. Okay, I'll do it the long way. Type in 30. And then go to Insert Symbol, Degrees. And there it is. And then click out in space to exit. Okay, so it's not uncommon to have to overwrite a dimension. Let me hit Escape to exit whatever I'm currently in. There it is. All right, so let's turn off the construction lines. Clean it up a little bit. Double click to do a zoom fit. Okay, it looks like we are done. I don't know if I missed anything, but I think I got it all. Hopefully you have it all also. Let's take a last peek on the answer key. Okay, let me zoom out. Looks like we have everything. Yeah, it does look pretty similar, right? Okay, so don't forget to save your work. And that's the end of this video.